Hello, hello, hello. It's good to see everybody. Welcome back to the live lectures after a 5-week absence. Holy cow. Holy cow. It was the craziest last 5 weeks you could possibly imagine. I thought I was going to die. Oh, wow. I don't know if you can tell, but I've lost about 35 pounds. I went without eating for an entire month. I fasted all of half of February and half of March. It was absolutely awful. I'm still not 100%. My throat's still hurting a little bit, and I still haven't quite gotten onto solid food yet, but I'm drinking plenty of protein drinks, and I feel good enough to talk. So I am definitely glad to be back here online. I hope you folks are all doing well. Thank you for the warm words and good messages. I sure do appreciate that. I want you to know that I have missed you every bit as much as you've missed me. And I absolutely feel terrible that I could not be here for you. We're going to go ahead and try to do our Wednesday webinar, or as Ashley likes to call it, our happy hour. So I am going to be doing happy hour on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, and I hope all of you can come here. Looks like we've got a pretty good crowd, 7 people here. We were at a high of 9, so some people are bouncing on and off. But great. Let's see. By the way, I did want to thank you for doing the course evaluation. All of you except for one person, 40 out of 41 people completed the course evaluation. So I wanted to thank you very much. It is important to give me your feedback so that I can improve this class and so that my bosses can see that you're happy with this class. I encourage you to do all of your course evaluations for every one of your classes, especially if you have a teacher who is not acting as professionally as you would like. The only way we can improve our teaching and improve the professors that need help is for you to give feedback. I promise you that our supervisors do see this feedback, and if there are consistent problems, these problems are addressed. But it is glad to be back, and I've talked to several of you individually in text. It's good to see you, Alex, as well. Hands up to you, Ashley. Still don't know what the hell that means, but okay. Etta, great to see you. Fantastic. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on Chapter 15. We're going to cover 2 chapters this week. Middle Adulthood, which is what I'm in right now, from 40 to... Good, great, fantastic. Etta said since it was the homework for this, she did it in all her classes as well. Good. I'm glad you did that, and I hope everybody gets in the habit. It's really important to give feedback. I really want all of the teachers here to be good at Wake Tech, and I am as upset about poor teachers as you are, because the poor teachers ruin everybody's name. So like I said, I'm very interested in you giving feedback. Now, if you're not doing well in a class and that's the reason, that's not a fair reason to give a teacher a negative evaluation. But if they're not answering emails, if they're not providing timely feedback, if they're being rude, these are things that the supervisors really do need to hear back from. Right, I didn't even want to do it as extra credit because I don't even want to give you the option to not do it. I wanted to make it mandatory, Etta. So we're going to talk about middle adulthood today, from 40 to 60, that time from when you definitely probably have children to before retirement. It's the period that I am in right now, from 40 to 60. I am 51, woohoo! And we're going to talk about that period. So today is physical and cognitive development in middle adulthood. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about socio-emotional development in middle adulthood. So today we're going to define middle age. We're going to talk about the physical changes in middle age. We're going to talk about sexuality in middle age. And we're going to talk about cognitive changes in middle age. I know, right? If 80% of my class won't do it, then there won't be extra credit. Right, I hear you. Okay, so middle age, it's that time from 40 to 45 years. of age to 60 to 65 years of age. It's that time from when you start feeling like you're getting a little bit older to, let's say, when you're retired here in America, although that is a social construction. You don't necessarily have to retire at 65, but that's typically an age that we retire here in America. So you can think about that as sort of the social construction, from 40 to 45 years to 60 to 65 years of age. That's a good question, Etta. Leanne said she would be here a little bit late today, but I told her to check in on the chat bar when she gets here, so I'm sure she will let us know when she is here. And I'm sure she'll be excited to hear you asking about her. Okay, what's happening to your body during this age? Holy cow, my physical skills are definitely declining. I'm a baseball player. I've been playing baseball since I was 6 years old. I still play in the old man's league. And you know what? We love to play baseball in the 40 plus. Actually, I'm in the 50 plus league. But I can tell you, we are not as good as we used to be. We're fatter, we're slower, our arms don't work as well. You should hear us sitting in the dugout. We're all complaining about the bad backs or the shoulder or the knee problem. Smells like a Bengay factory in the dugout with everybody putting those analgesic creams on their body. So we definitely have declining physical skills. And you know what? We all realize it now. We're understanding the difference between who we are now and who we were as young men. Excuse me. And you would, as females, would feel your difference between you being an older female and a younger female. What are you feeling right now? You know what? An increased sense of responsibility. The weight of the world is on my shoulders. I got to take care of retirement. Got to take care of my wife. Actually, she takes care of me too. And we got to take care of the kids. And I've got to make sure that my sons are launched into adulthood successfully. You would not believe how much anxiety I feel about making sure that my boys are all grown up. My 19-year-old is off like gangbusters. Got himself a job, a career, saving money. Makes me so excited. My older son's finished his first 2 years at Wake Tech, but he's kind of floundering right now. He's not sort of pushing on to the next phase of life. It really causes me great anxiety. And you know, I feel this need to transmit something meaningful to the next generation. I'm trying to show them how to be good with their money, how to be good men, how to be good family men, how to be great people, great contributors to society. Holy cow, I really feel like I need to help them become better men. Who knows what this world is going to be in 50 years, and I need to make sure that my boys are equipped to handle it, right? And you know what? I need to reach and maintain career satisfaction. You know, I like being good at my job. I love sitting here in front of you, and I love being the greatest online teacher there ever was. And it's really, really important to me that I am good in my job. So these are sort of the things that I'm feeling right now. This responsibility, this need to help my boys grow up, and this need to be good at my job. So we are almost at the last period of life. So that's really what middle adulthood is. And I know, Etta, I'm really proud of Leanne, and I want to make sure that you all give her props. She's done a great job of making sure we're all organized and doing our homework. And I think she really she likes doing that, and she's really good at it. So be sure to give her some props. My nose has been itching today, so if I keep rubbing my nose, I apologize. Now, scientific approach to life is working. Here's the deal, though. 60 is the new 40. Just because I'm 52 doesn't mean I have to be weak and old. You know, back in the day, when I was a little kid, 60 was old, man. Now 60 is young. And me and my 55-year-old boys are still playing baseball and having a great time. This scientific approach to life is working. You know what? You can be 50 like I am, and except for my cancer, you can be super duper healthy. So before I got sick and lost all this weight, man, I was jacked. I had some muscles, man. You can see these little bumps right here. I had some pecs. I had the chest going on. I even had a little six-pack going on down here. And I would jog 3-4 miles a day. You know what? You can be healthy at 40 and 50 if you want. But the choice is up to you, folks. And those of you who are in your 20s right now, You can start engaging in those happy, healthy habits that will make you the 50 and 60-year-old who is still looking like a young kid. So you do not have to get old, right? I love Cool Mo D down here with the chains. You know he listens to DMX, right? He is tough. So we are living longer and healthier lives. As olders become older, their age identity is younger than their chronological age. You know what, dude? I can hang with them 30-year-old boys on the ball field because I'm in good shape. So just because I'm playing in the 50-year-old league doesn't mean I couldn't play down in the 30-year-old league. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. And you know what? An increasing percentage of the population is made up of middle-aged and older adults because we're living longer and healthier lives. And if you remember from earlier in the semester, I talked about the rectangularization of the age distribution. If you look right underneath me, I'll remind you that back in 1900, the average lifespan was 47. That meant that half of us were dead by the age of 47. And only 3% of the population was older than 65. But here in 2000, the average lifespan is 79. And 15% of the population is older than 65. And my grandma just had her 101st birthday about 3 weeks ago. So you too can live to 100, but you have to start engaging in those healthy habits right now in 25 or 30. Okay? Now, here's the deal. And I like to quote one of my favorite country songs, Toby Keith's, "I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was." And you know, that's the truth. Maybe I can't go as long and I don't have as much stamina, but you know what? I can still bring the heat for just a little bit. You can do that too. But you know what? There are going to be some changes. Absolutely. Jay Yoon asked a question. Do you think COVID has affected the lifespan? Absolutely. We've had a 2-year, in the last year, we've had a 2-year drop in average lifespan. And that's a good point. Things like viruses that run around, wars, disease, all of these things do affect average lifespan. It's an omnibus number that talks about how long all of us live. And if you have a pandemic running around, this is definitely going to decrease the average lifespan. If you look at the average lifespan of a war-torn country like Syria, or a country in Africa that might have poor health and infrastructure, you're going to see much lower average lifespans, and that reflects the health conditions that impact how long people live. That's a really good question, Jay. Really good question. Hey! People were asking about you, Leanne. It's good to see you. I am so glad to see you back, and I want to thank you very much for shepherding everybody with the weekly homeworks. I am so proud of you, Leanne. You are a leader. Oh, and by the way, Leanne, I did want you to know that we are having cocktail hour, or as I like to call it, webinar hour on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. So you can do your homework hour after that. Okay. I don't like the thought of getting, you don't have to get wider. You do have to get a little bit shorter, but you do not have to get wider. And you know what? That's what I noticed when I went to my 25th school reunion. I was still thin and good looking, man, and all my buddies were bald and fat. You know what? You can manage that, but you have to stay off the high calorie foods. You've got to exercise. You have to become more cognizant of your eating and exercise habits. As teenagers, all we do is run around, and you know, before you get your driver's license, you're on your bicycle or you're running around outside, you know, and you burn more calories, so you don't have to worry about eating. But as you get older, you really have to be careful about your diet. I really try to avoid fast food restaurants at all costs. I eat tons of vegetables, and I do not fry foods nearly as much as I did in my 30s. In my 30s, I'm actually 50 pounds lighter than I was in my 30s. I was quite overweight as a 40-year-old. And I went to the doctor, and he told me that I had all these health conditions, and he told me I had to either go on medication or lose weight. So I decided to take the poison and start exercising, and losing that 50 pounds has really made all the difference in my life. But you definitely have to make an effort, Ashley. Exercise and diet. It's not one or the other. You got to take care of both. But you know what? I'm still getting these skin wrinkles. I'm still sagging a little bit. My hair is not thin, but it is definitely gray. You know what? It's weird, but my nails are getting thicker and less attractive looking. I don't take my shoes off anymore because my toenails are awful looking. And you know what? Brush your teeth as much as you want, but your teeth are just gonna get a little more yellow than they used to be. I remember I went back and saw all my friends in high school, and you know what? Some of them had the most beautiful white teeth in high school, and they're now yellow. Now you can go get your treatment at the dentist, but your teeth are still going to get a little bit yellow. Now most of us are going to get a little bit shorter. I was 5'6"3/4" as an 18-year-old. I am now 5'6" even. And a lot of times you will gain weight. And being overweight is a critical health problem. When I went to the doctor on my 45th birthday, he told me I had high cholesterol, I was pre-diabetic, I had high blood pressure, and the doctor wanted to put me on all of these medicines. I lost 50 pounds and all of those problems went away. So being overweight is a critical hair problem. I just saw Edda's comment. You know, white socks and sandals. I'm not sure if it's better to be barefoot than wear white socks and sandals, but that's just me and my style decisions. But I have seen those Polish men, or those older men with the socks and sandals. I'm just not into socks and sandals myself. Now, you are going to feel a little bit older, and you know what? You are going to lose muscle mass, and it really makes me mad because the younger boys at the gym get these big muscles, and they're built and just stacked, and I work out just as hard as I can, and I'm just not as strong, and I don't have as many muscles as the younger 30-year-old boys in the gym. But that's okay. That's just a part of getting a little bit older. Now, a lot of my friends are starting to have knee and ankle problems, and that's because you're starting to lose a little bit of cartilage and cushion in between your bones, and so you're going to get some joint stiffness and a little bit of difficulty, and I'm not nearly as limber as I was as a 20-year-old. And you're going to see that. It's going to take a little bit longer to warm up. You're going to have to be more careful, and you're going to see yourself taking that ibuprofen and some of those anti-swelling drugs if you're into athletics as a 40 and 50-year-old. You are going to lose some bones, so remember, make sure to drink that milk and take those supplements, and definitely hit the gym and lift some weight. Lift some weight, lift some weight. Now, doing the calisthenics and getting the cardio in is great. But if you really, really want to keep your movement, your ability to move around, you're going to need to do some resistance training. Now, you need to be lifting hundreds and hundreds of pounds of weight, but some resistance training is going to help you maintain that muscle mass. Okay? It is harder, Stephanie, to lose the weight when you're getting 35 to 40, but it's really, get yourself a calorie counter app. That's how I did it. And you got to log those apps, because what I didn't realize was how much unconscious eating I did. You'll just walk by the fridge and pick something up and stick it in your mouth without thinking. If you start cataloging that stuff, Stephanie, and noticing every time you go to the fridge, you'll then be able to maintain your calorie restriction, which will allow you to lose weight. But you definitely have to cut the calories, and you can do that by becoming aware of your calories. You would be surprised how unconscious eating is. Most of us eat without even thinking about it. We just stick stuff in our mouth. You have to make eating conscious so that you can control those calories. It's tough, but I promise you, you can do it. Now, right, and that's the other thing. You have to make exercise unconscious. So what I did was, when I lost the 50 pounds, was I put the gym in my routine. And it was like, I have to do it every day. It was a routine. I don't care what else I did. I hit the gym every day. Never missed. And once you turn that into a habit, so you have to make eating become unhabitual, and you have to make your exercising become habitual. But it is really difficult. You definitely have to have a schedule for eating. Yep. Now, even though I am healthy in a lot of ways, you know what? There are some old age problems, some old people problems you just can't get away from. Now, your ability to focus and maintain an image on the retina experiences a decline between 40 and 60. And you know what? You are going to need bifocals. I need bifocals right now, but I'm just not ready for them. So I have to take my glasses on and off to see things close up and far away. And so starting, I swear to God, starting in your early 40s, you're going to start to have trouble seeing things close up if you have normal vision. Or if you're like me, really nearsighted, you're finally going to be able to see things close up really well. But you're going to experience a need for bifocals starting in your 40s. And this is because you have a reduced blood supply to your field, to your visual field. And you know what? Your hearing is going to start to decline a little bit by the age of 40. And it turns out that you start to lose your ability to hear high-pitched sounds. Now, if any of you are right, I could get the contact lenses, Heather, but I've always had trouble sticking my finger in my eye. That's why I wear glasses. Y'all won't see it because I take them off before I lecture. But I just always had trouble sticking my fingers in my eyes. I'm sure your grandmother has bifocals. Everybody has bifocals. Don't feel bad. It comes for everybody. Now, I've got a cool website. If you want, you can test your hearing. Based upon your age, your ability to hear high-pitched sounds is going to go away. And in fact, they make ringtones, from what I understand, that you can put on your phone so that your 40-year-old teacher can't hear your cell phone when it goes off, but you, the young person, can hear when it goes off. And so your ability to hear high-pitched sounds does go away as you get older. Now, I spent a lot of time listening to heavy metal, rock and roll, especially with my earbuds in, and too loud. And one of the things they tested during my cancer treatment was my ears. And I've got some hearing loss, especially in my left ear. I have ringing in my left ear, tinnitus, that is never, ever, ever going to go away. So if you can, please make sure you keep the earbuds rock and roll at a very reasonable level. And don't do what Dr. Roddenberry, because I am a little bit deaf in my left ear from rocking and rolling too hard. I know, I'm just so vain, Leanne. I'm just so vain. I look good with the glasses, but I look better without them. Right? So I still want to be hot rod, Leanne, so I can't put the glasses on. Chronic diseases are now going to be the main cause of death. Right? You got to turn it down. Chronic diseases are now the main cause of death during middle adulthood. Cancer, then heart disease, then typically injuries. Although, do you folks know what the third leading cause of death was last year after cancer and heart disease? Does anybody know what the third leading cause of death was last year? Oh, you're so sweet, man. Does anybody know what was the third leading cause of death in America? COVID. Yes. How crazy is that? And some people don't want to take the vaccine and mask up. You know, we wear freaking seat belts. We put on crash helmets when we ride bikes, and yet nobody wants to wear a mask or get the COVID vaccine. Definitely do that. So, yes, cancer is the leading cause of death during my age. Holy cow, can you believe that? When I got diagnosed with cancer, I walked around the house crying for 2 weeks at Christmas. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I still don't know. It might kill me. I don't get my final test until June. That's when they do the PET scan and see if they've cured this cancer. But if not, look at what's facing me, the leading cause of death. Good for you, Leanne, getting your first dose. I got my second dose last Friday. It was easy peasy rock and roll, so I highly suggest all of you get your COVID vaccine if you can. Okay, other physical changes. You know what? I have trouble now that I'm 52. I never sleep fully through the night. I usually wake up at least twice during the night. And old person bladder, I usually have to go to the bathroom once or twice during the middle of the night. Sleep disorder, breathing and restless leg syndrome increase during the 40s. This is when you're going to have that sleep apnea and the snoring, and you might wind up in a sleep lab. And you know what? If you don't sleep as well, your immune system functioning is going to be decreased. I got the Moderna one, and I had a good experience with it, but I don't have any experience with the others. Good for your husband, and I hope you get it, Etta. Now, your lung tissue becomes less elastic around age 55, and there is decreased lung capacity. You know what? I do my jogging on the treadmill and I measure how fast I go and how long I go and my heart rate, and I notice that I am not nearly, I don't have nearly the cardiorespiratory fitness that I did in my late 30s that I now have in my 50s. Actually in my 40s than I have in my 50s. However, getting your cardio in is going to give you better lung health over time. So again, exercise, exercise, exercise. I can't stress that enough, right? Now, if you're getting heavy in 45 and 50 and you're eating an unhealthy diet, and you know those things kind of go along with people who are in lower SES, you are going to have the high cholesterol, the high blood pressure, and the cardiovascular disease. I guarantee you I was obese. I was eating a horrible diet, and I was not exercising, and I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and actually I had high blood sugar. And so engaging in exercise and a healthy diet fixed all of those problems for me in my 40s without medicine. Now, middle adulthood is a stressful time. You've got the job, you've got the retirement, you've got the kids. If you don't learn how to maintain your stress, your immune system is going to be compromised. If you're stressed out, you're going to have a chronic sympathetic nervous response. Sympathetic nervous response causes cortisol to be released into your blood system. Cortisol, very good in the short term, very bad for a body in long term. So it's going to cause health problems and cardiovascular problems if you're stressed out, because you're going to have elevated cortisol levels in your brain. Now, mindset is important. It turns out that stress is all in your mind. Some people have busy lives and stress doesn't bother them at all. Some people don't have busy lives and they stay stressed out. Stress is all in your mind. I do a little bit of meditation. I have hobbies that give me fun things to do, and I spend my time around family and friends. And all of these things help me maintain a positive mindset and protect me, I think, from the negative effects of stress. Well, I hope the cancer is gone too, Lee. But if it isn't, we'll deal with it then. But I'm hoping, you know. They say that the kind of throat cancer I've got is 85% curable. So I hope I'm a lucky guy. It's certainly as miserable as therapy was. I hope they get my benefit. But we'll see. Okay. Good. I'm glad, Lee, because I was really worried about you in the early part of this semester. You seemed so uptight and stressed out. And you're doing such a good job of being such a leader of the students here that I sometimes worry about you being stressed out. I think you're doing just fine. Okay. Menopause is going to be there in the late 40s, early 50s. It's going to be the cessation of your women's menstrual period during the late 40s, early 50s. Somebody I know quite well in my household is in the premenopausal period right now. From what I understand, menopause, you don't officially enter it until you go a year without a menstrual period. But I do know, I can tell you from experience with a close household family member, that starting in your late 40s or early 50s, you will start skipping periods. And sometimes you'll go a month without one, 2 months without one, 3 months without one. And that's what they call a premenopausal period. There's a steep drop in the estrogen levels during this period, which may cause hot flashes, nausea, fatigue, and a rapid heartbeat. And like I said, my wife is in the perimenopause period. And you know what? She is so emotionally stable, she is not even demonstrating that. You would think, you know, you hear the horror stories about what happens to your emotional functioning. My wife is a freaking rock. In fact, I'm probably going through more menopausal experiences than she is. My emotions are all up and down. But she is so totally cool. I know the men do have it easy, don't we, Heather? Ha, ha, ha. Oh my God, really, Leanne? That's crazy. That is super crazy. I know my wife skipped a couple of periods when she first went into the premenopausal period, and it scared the hell out of both of us because we thought she was pregnant, and I swear to God, I did not want her to be pregnant at 50 years old. I was going to run away to run away to freaking Africa or Asia if she got pregnant at 50. I mean, kids are wonderful, but it's the most wonderful thing I never want to do again. I'm so done with raising kids, right? So, men, now we're going to experience a more modest decline in sexual hormone level and activity. Ours is going to start dropping much earlier in our 30s, and it's not going to go steep, but it's going to be a gradual decline over the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So we're still getting to the same lower levels of sex hormones, but whereas the females stays higher longer and drops steeper, the men's is going to be a more modest, gradual decline over decades. Yeah, my wife's got one of those things too. It's kind of neat to keep your little. Us guys don't have anything that occurs that regularly. Low testosterone levels may lead to erectile dysfunction. Now, as you start moving into your 40s and 50s, sexual activity does occur less frequently than in early adulthood. Us men are going to still be more interested in sex than our middle-aged female partners. These are averages, may be different for you, completely different, so every individual is different. But on average, men are going to be more interested in sex than our middle-aged women. And it turns out that the frequency of sex is going to be linked to increased cognitive function. Again, if you exercise, you maintain that cognitive function, you maintain that interest in sex, right? So, your book's got a little chart that talks about the frequency of sex at different ages. And you see that there's like 4 basic categories. Some people don't have sex at all. Some people have it a couple times a year. Some people have it a couple times a month. And some people have it a couple times a week. These are sort of your 4 broad categories related to sexual activities. And what you're going to notice is that sexual activity sort of peaks in early adulthood when you're interested in it and you have a partner. And then it's going to decrease in middle adulthood. So if you notice the number of people having sex 3 times a week, you're going to notice it decreases from 25 to 29 to the 40 to 49 age group. For both men and women, you're going to see great decreases in the number of people who are having sex frequently. Right, there are lots of people who Kinsey was the first one. Alfred Kinsey in the 1960s was the first person to start surveying people on their sexual attitudes and sexual behavior. And there are scientists who regularly do surveys of people's sexual behavior, Davina. So just like I could have a survey right now, I could send you an anonymous survey and ask you how often you have sex, and we could come up with a pattern for this class. And I'll bet we would see the same general groupings of people in this class as well, with some of you younger people having sex more often than some of us older folks. Now, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about intelligence. People say, oh, you start to lose your mind when you get older. Oh, my goodness, I'm having a senior moment. My brain doesn't work as well. Yes, our brains do change a little bit, and our cognitive abilities do change a little bit. And that is different for everybody, and it depends on whether or not you have a romantic partner. It depends on social and religious beliefs, Leanne. So that is completely fine. But I'm sure one day you will, and I'm sure one day you'll fit into one of these categories. Menopause, next slide for men. Oh, okay, right, Davina. All right, I thought you were asking the sex question. Oops. Now, how exactly does our intelligence change? One of the famous studies was done by a fellow named John Horn. He did what's called a cross-sectional research study. And a cross-sectional research study is one of the best longitudinal studies you can do. We talked about it in chapter 1, I think. And a cross-sectional study is when you do both a cross-sequential study is when you do a cross-sectional and a longitudinal study. So he found people of different age groups, okay, young children, and old children. And then he followed these people throughout their life. So he got some 5-year-olds, some 10-year-olds, some 15-year-olds, some 20-year-olds, some 25-year-olds, some 40-year-olds, some 50-year-olds. And then he started testing these people as they moved through their lifespan. And what he found was that intelligence changes. Part of our intellectual ability changes, and part of it stays the same. So think of intelligence as being two things. You can think of your fluid intelligence, which is your creative and abstract thinking ability. And then you can think of crystallized intelligence, which is your knowledge for facts. Okay? And what he found was that crystallized intelligence, our knowledge for facts, doesn't really go away as we get older. What changes, what intellectual abilities change as we get older, is we get less creative, less flexible, and less quick in our thinking. So our fluid intelligence seems to decrease in early to middle adulthood, whereas our crystallized intelligence doesn't decrease until much later in life. Does that make sense? Do y'all understand? Forgetting things when I tell her she gets mad. I told her she needs to exercise. Yes, yes, yes. Here's the deal. One of the things we're going to talk about next week when we start talking about late adulthood is your cognitive abilities. If you engage in resistance training and lots of exercise, as well as intellectual abilities, you can hold off cognitive decline. So just because you're 65 or 70 doesn't mean you have to start getting forgetful. Absolutely not. If you exercise and use that mind, you can keep it as long as you want. My grandma, who turned 101 last month, is still sharp as a tack. She still manages her money. She still remembers everybody she sees. She can still remember things that happened a long time ago in her life. So you do not have to lose your cognitive abilities. You can affect that by maintaining a healthy diet, exercising, and as Etta says, engaging in intellectual abilities like reading, doing crossword puzzles, interacting with people, playing games. You can do all of that. She is a trooper, right, Leanne? She is absolutely hardcore. You know, it's sort of funny. When I met my wife, she made me take my earring out. See, I've got this earring right here. And my grandma, that was her grandma, actually. She made me take my earring out. And she said, well, you have to take your earring out because my grandma's old school and she doesn't like earrings and men. I was like, well, when can I start wearing my earring again? She said, well, the day she passes, you can start wearing your earring again. And I was like, okay. I figured, you know, she's like my family. She'll live to be 80, maybe 81. When I'm 30, I can put my earring back in. Last year, at her 100th birthday party, when we got home, I talked to my wife. I said, hey, this deal is bullshit, okay? Obviously, I did not know at the time I made this deal that your grandma was going to live to be 100. So I'm putting my earring back in. And so that's why I got my earring back at the age of 50. Not because I'm having a midlife crisis, but I gave it up when I was 21, and I didn't realize that the old lady was going to live so long, right? So, now that was one study on intellectual functioning. The Seattle Longitudinal study followed people's intellectual and cognitive functioning. What did she say? You know what? Her eyesight is good. So I take my earring out when I go see her, and she can't see the hole because she doesn't see very well. So I kind of cooperated with my wife, but damn it, you know, I'm a 50-year-old man. It's time to put my earring in. Now, she also made me cut my hair. Now, that's a good idea, so I keep my hair short. I used to have this huge freaking long afro with long hair hanging down over my neck. It was the worst look possible. So I like the haircut, so I'm not growing my hair back, but I did get the earring back in. Maybe she won't, but I'm still too afraid to wear it, Letta. Make that fashion statement. Right, Leanne? Okay, so the Seattle Longitudinal study followed people's cognitive decline throughout their life. And you'll notice that they measured 6 different kinds of intellectual functioning: inductive reasoning, spatial orientation, perceptual speed, numerical ability, verbal comprehension, and verbal memory. And what you see is that they found that there's peak intellectual functioning in middle age. Woohoo! But numerical facility and perceptual speed show the steepest declines in middle age. You start slowing down. And if you've ever watched an older person on the internet trying to click buttons and do stuff, and you're a young person, you'll notice that it takes them forever to figure out which button to click on the internet, and it kills you. Now, declines in verbal skills and perceptual speed in middle adulthood are linked to cognitive impairment in late adulthood. So if you start losing your verbal memory, which is your memory for facts, kind of like your aunt, Etta, that's going to be predictive of cognitive impairment in late adulthood. All right. Right? Yes, those chicken pecking skills. Their brain doesn't work as quick. But what they do have, and we're going to talk about this Wednesday, is both sides of the brain work together better than they do in early adulthood and childhood. And so we can kind of hide that decline in perceptual speed because our brain works better together. Okay, now your brain is changing during this age. And if you remember when we were talking about early and middle childhood, we were talking about how your brain volume grows and then the connectivity starts to grow. So in early childhood, your brain grows bigger in infancy, and then it myelinates, and then the connections grow. As you get older, you're going to see a decrease in brain volume. That cortical thickness that grew so much and the synaptic density that grew so much in early and middle childhood is going to start to decrease as you get older. You're going to get a decrease in blood flow, and you're also going to start seeing the development of these protein tangles in your brain. Now, if you start getting a ton of these protein tangles, you may develop a condition known as Alzheimer's disease, which is caused by protein tangles that run amok in your brain and cause brain tissue to start dying. Okay? Now, as you get older, like I said, sometimes you may not be older, but you're wiser, and that experience will allow you to hide these decrease in speed and functioning of your brain. So you're going to be better at relying on accumulated experience. You're going to use your wisdom to outsmart. Though you're going to be a wily veteran, you're going to learn how to outsmart those younger kids. Even though your brain doesn't work as quick, you'll figure out shortcuts that help you keep up with the kids. You're going to analyze information more efficiently. You're going to have better strategies and shortcuts to solving problems. And you're going to be a little more creative and flexible in solving these problems because both halves of your brain hemispheres are working better together. And we're going to watch a video and talk about that on Wednesday. You're going to be better at solving problems just because you've got this accumulated to experience. But starting in your 50s, you're going to start losing these abilities a little bit. You know, my father is now 83, and he's not as good as my grandmother-in-law. And you know, sometimes he has problems, like when his car breaks down, he has trouble figuring out how to fix his car problem. Well, Dad, you need to get a tow. You got to get it here. You need to get this fixed. You need to get this looked at. Sometimes my dad's overwhelmed. He can't figure out how to fix the internet or when something breaks at the house. And it's my job to go over there and help my dad solve problems because he gets a little more confused now. He's not nearly as good at solving problems as he was as a 50-year-old. And it's kind of sad. But you know what? It's what happens when you get a little older. So what I do is I'm the good son and I go over there and help Dad out. Okay. Remember, middle age is just a number. You do not have to be 50-year-old just because you are. I am 35 in my mind. Remember, there are some physical changes. You'll start to look and feel a little bit older, especially if you don't pay attention to your health in early adulthood. Sexuality is going to slow down and it's going to be related to hormone changes. And your cognitive abilities are going to start to change just a little bit, especially if you don't exercise and keep that mind active. But if you keep your mind active and exercise, you can push those changes off into late adulthood. Exactly. It's great to help. Remember, you're going to be old sometime, so you have to set a good example to your kids by helping your parents. Definitely venerate the old. Your parents took care of you and wiped your butt for 2 years and fed you when you couldn't feed yourself. They put you through school. They kept you from being scared. And so now it's time to repay the debt as they get older. If nobody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and close this lecture out. We'll talk about late adulthood on Wednesday. I hope everybody enjoyed the lecture. It is great to be back and good to see each and every one of you. Leanne, Jay, Etta. Oh my goodness. Let me see all my names. Jay, it's good to see you. Holy cow, who else is here? See, my mind's gone. Heather, good to see you. Alex, Ashley, Chelsea. Man, it's just fantastic seeing everybody. I am so glad to be back. I hope you had a good time today. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to log out. But other than that, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Hi, Ryan. I saw you in the earlier class today, too. Thank you very much. I didn't have time to say hello to you, Ryan, but thanks. Stephanie, good to see you. Thanks, folks. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in class on Wednesday and at the Wednesday webinar. Take care.